an animal is offered to some demigod and the remnant is taken, that it is as far as possible painless. Of course, pain must be there when you get killed. There's no such thing as a painless death in this world. There's going to always be some feeling of some sort. But it is kept to a minimum, and therefore the reaction is kept to a minimum. But actually the best thing is that human beings should become eaters of Krishna prasadam. That is the actual best thing they should do. But if they don't, then this description is very enlightening. It's telling us what is the actual reaction, how to understand it. So Narada Muni continues. Narada Muni continued, all the animals that you have killed and given unnecessary pain will kill you one after the other in your next life and in life after life. Purport. This is another authoritative statement made by the great sage Narada. Those who kill animals and give them unnecessary pain, as people do in slaughterhouses, will be killed in a similar way in the next life and in many lives to come. One can never become excused from such an offense. If one kills many thousands of animals in a professional way so that other people can purchase the meat to eat, one must be ready to be killed in a similar way in his next life and in life after life. There are many rascals who violate their own religious principles. According to the Judeo-Christian scriptures, it is clearly said, "Thou shalt not kill." Nonetheless, giving all kinds of excuses, even the heads of religions indulge in killing animals while trying to pass as saintly persons. This mockery and hypocrisy in human society bring about unlimited calamities. Therefore, occasionally there are great wars. Masses of such people go out onto the battlefields and kill themselves. Presently they have discovered the atomic bomb, which is simply awaiting wholesale destruction. If people want to be saved from the killing business life after life, they must take to Krishna consciousness and cease sinful activity. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness recommends that everyone abandon meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. When one gives up these sinful activities, he can understand Krishna and take to this Krishna consciousness movement. We therefore request everyone to abandon sinful activity and chant the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way people can save themselves from repeated birth and death. End of the Bhaktivedanta purports. Text 252. Narada sange vyader mona parasana hoilo, tarabakya sunimone bhoya upajilo. In this way, through the association of the great sage Narada Muni, the hunter was a little convinced of his sinful activity. He therefore became somewhat afraid due to his offenses. Vyada krohe vallohete amar karma kamone ko torimu mui parmona odamo. The hunter then admitted that he was convinced of his sinful activity. And he said, I have been taught this business from my very childhood. Now I am wondering how I can become free from these unlimited volumes of sinful activity. Purport. This kind of admission is very beneficial as long as one does not again commit sin. Cheating and hypocrisy are not tolerated by higher authorities. If one understands what sin is, he should give it up with sincerity and regret, and surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through His agent, the pure devotee. In this way, one can be freed from the reactions of sin and make progress in devotional service. However, if one continues committing sins, after making some atonement, he will not be saved. In the Shastra, such atonement is compared to an elephant's bathing. An elephant takes a very good bath and cleanses its body very nicely. But as soon as it comes out of the water, it picks up some dust on the shore and throws it all over its body. Atonement may be carried out very nicely, but it will not help a person if he continues committing sins. Therefore the hunter first admitted his sinful activity before the saintly person, Narada, and then asked how he could be saved. E papa jai mor kamone upaye nistar koho koroho more poro tumar paye. The hunter continued, "My dear sir, please tell me how I can be relieved from the reactions of my sinful life. Now I fully surrender unto you and fall down at your lotus feet. Please deliver me from sinful reactions." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. By the grace of Narada Muni, the hunter came to his good senses and immediately surrendered unto the saint's lotus feet. This is the process. By associating with a saintly person, one is able to understand the reactions of his sinful life. When one voluntarily surrenders to a saintly person who is a representative of Krishna and follows his instructions, one can become freed from sinful reaction. Krishna demands the surrender of a sinful man, and Krishna's representative gives the same instructions. The representative of Krishna never tells his disciple, "Surrender unto me." Rather, he says, "Surrender unto Krishna." If the disciple accepts this principle and surrenders himself through the representative of Krishna, his life is saved. Narada kohe jodi dharo amara vachana, tabe se korite pari tumara mochana. Narada Muni assured the hunter, "If you listen to my instruction, I shall find the way you can be liberated." So it goes on. So just to summarize what happens, Narada Muni tells him to break his bow. The person is afraid, "If I break the bow, how can I maintain myself?" Narada Muni tells him, "Don't worry, I will provide your food." Being reassured by Narada Muni, the hunter broke his bow and fell down at Narada Muni's lotus feet and fully surrendered. Then Narada Muni gave him instructions for spiritual advancement. He advised the hunter to return to his house, distribute whatever wealth he received from killing, and give it to the pure brahmanas who know the absolute truth. And then after giving his riches away, he should and his wife leave the home, taking each a cloth to wear. He told them to go to a river and construct a small cottage. In front of the cottage they should grow a tulsi plant on a raised platform. Then after planting the tulsi, they should daily circumambulate the tulsi plant, serve her by giving her water and other things, and continuously chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In this way, Narada Muni said, "I will send you sufficient food every day. You can take as much food as you want." In this way, Narada Muni freed the half-killed animals, bringing them to consciousness. The hunter was struck with wonder to see Narada Muni's mystic power in bringing back the dead animals, the half-killed animals, to complete health and freeing them. He offered his obeisances to Narada Muni and returned to his home. He did exactly as he was instructed. The news became spread far and wide that he was a Vaishnava, and people brought alms to him, the Vaishnava who had previously been a hunter. In this way, so much food came that there was enough for 10 or 20 people. So the hunter could only accept, whatever they accepted, only what they needed. They didn't accept more. One day, Narada Muni came with his friend Parvata Muni, who wanted to see his disciple, the hunter. Or Narada Muni actually requested him, "Come and see my hunter disciple, my disciple, the hunter." When the saintly sages came to the hunter's place, the hunter could see them coming from a distance. So the hunter, he ran towards his spiritual master. But he couldn't fall down and offer his obeisance because ants were running hither and thither around his feet. So seeing the ants, the hunter, he just was jumping this way and that way, trying to escape crushing them. Then he smoothed them away with his cloth very carefully, and then he fell down and offered his obeisances. So then Narada commented that, "My dear hunter, such behavior is not at all astonishing. A man in devotional service is automatically non-violent. He is the best of gentlemen. O hunter, good qualities like non-violence which you have developed are not very astonishing, for those engaged in the Lord's devotional service are never inclined to give pain to others because of envy." This way, the hunter was so fortunate he could receive his guru, these great sages, in his courtyard of his house, and he gave them a sitting place and gave them water, washed their lotus feet, and this way the husband and wife sprinkled the water on their heads and drank the water for their purification. The hunter chanted Krishna Mahamantra before his spiritual master. His body trembled, his eyes welled with tears. He was filled with ecstatic love. He raised his hands and began to dance, waving his garments up and down. When Parvata Muni saw the ecstatic loving symptoms of the hunter, he told Narada Muni, "Certainly you are a touchstone." Parvata Muni continued that, "My dear friend Narada Muni, you are glorified as a sage amongst the demigods. By your mercy, even a low-born person like this hunter can immediately become attached to Lord Krishna." So in this way, the hunter had achieved everything that he needed, more grains than he could use. There was no want. And he was saved from the sinful reactions to his violent activities. So just as Narada Muni has delivered this hunter, somehow or another, the so-called civilized people of the Western world who have fallen to this similar situation as Margari the hunter, where they are unnecessarily killing animals to feed their carnal instincts, to feed their tongues, when there's adequate alternative foodstuff available. Somehow or another, by the association of pure devotees, people must become purified to give up this horrible habit. Then only can the world have real peace. Then only can we be secure from the total destruction of this modern civilization due to nuclear wars or world wars and holocausts. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any question? I have no objection to having a restaurant. It's a good preaching. We have the manpower, infrastructure, capital, so on. We were discussing that it's easier to do catering first. It's easier to make cookies and bakery things and sell first. You have to do a market research if you want to have a restaurant to see whether the clientele is adequate, whether the traffic flow. Do we have the manpower? Restaurant means you have to work morning to night. But catering is easy if you advertise. Just like this is known as the convention city, isn't it? Atlanta. So some of these conventions, every time you see conventions, there's different people that organize these conventions. They're professional convention makers. When people want to put on a convention, they go to these organizers of conventions, say, make us a convention. They rent the halls, they organize the entertainment, they organize the catering, they do everything. So we can even contact these various organizers of conventions and various companies that during your convention have one feast vegetarian. And that's very profitable. That way you can reach some of the elite people of the country. Because it's profitable this way that you know exactly how many plates you have to make. You make that many plates, it's very controlled. In a restaurant, you make every day a certain amount of food. It's not sold every day. Sometimes surplus is there. And it requires a lot of overhead. You have to keep people there no matter how many people come or not. You have to pay rent. You have so many overheads. You have inspection. You have to have your kitchen certified before you can do it. But this catering business is something which you can do unhesitatingly. We have very good cooks here. There's no difficulty to do that. While a restaurant, you have to dedicate a number of people to do that. I'm not sure that we have the people for that you can discuss, but I wouldn't, it's good practice and it'd be a good name for us if we got into we can have a card printed up, we can make it as a separate business under one of our trusts, but I mean, it can be done as a professional thing and promoted. High school sororities, college and university have fraternities, sororities. At least they always have parties and things. Sometimes they have feasts. So sometimes they could have. It's just a question of sending out, printing out, have somebody write up a good write up on it, and going around, and then sometime inviting the heads of having maybe even a banquet sometime where you invite all the heads of these conferences, these you know, the organizers of conferences. You call maybe there's 10 or 20 of them here. Even one day you somehow arrange that they all come and take a vegetarian, a first class thing. Catering also, one thing you have to do is how to decorate the plates, how to make it look very nice with flowers and the vegetables and the salad, and not just that you come out in tin foil plates and plastic. It has to be done that the plates themselves look very attractive. You can get $10, $15, $20, $50, depending, various. You can get a lot for one plate. So, based on certain market rates. So we can definitely charge less for a vegetarian meal than they get charged for a meat meal, but make it very attractive and nice. So I'd recommend doing that first. And you can consult restaurant. I think we were discussing having more a food for life type program here in Atlanta, like all you can eat for something or that type of a program, because there are a lot of Martin Luther's king. There's a lot of poor people. There's a lot of people that could use food at a low rate, at a kind of cheap rate. You could have a vegetarian club here in this temple downstairs. Encourage people to join. Put up signs and Sevanandas in different places. Have like a vegetarian club. People come here, take vegetarian meal, get very simple one, like they do in, like they have in Dallas. They cook in the temple kitchen, the meal. They have a salad bar, and they have one entree every day, one special plate with a few a la cartes, but generally just one main thing. People go in, see the temple if they want, or they go right into Kalachand's restaurant, and it's then got very high reviews. But in case for zoning, if you can't have it as a full-out restaurant, you can have it as a vegetarian club. Everyone that comes in has to join the club. It's a club you can get it with. $1 a year, join the club. Sign up. Yeah. The thing is that when we meet people on the street, we want them, when we meet people in our preaching, we want them to first be devotees, to chant Hare Krishna, to accept Krishna consciousness, because that's the only way people, even they want to stop meat, they can't. Unless they develop a higher taste, they can't stop it very easily. Although some are by willpower, but it's very difficult for them. It's very easy if they become Krishna conscious. So in our preaching, we preach against these things, but our primal thing is to preach in such a way that people take our books, that they chant Hare Krishna, and we come direct, one-on-one, direct, personal. But there's a good opportunity for having some preachers groomed as a more kind of extension to public affairs preacher. I've discussed this with Mukunda Maharaj and different leaders in public affairs, and they've done it in Washington to some degree. But I feel that we should do it on a local level, especially we could do it possibly with some of our perfection home devotees. That, for instance, there's the vegetarian clubs, become members of these. That person would become a member on our behalf. There's clubs for cruelty to animals. There's so many different clubs, so many different associations. So that one person or two people, they become active and go to those meetings and use those forums for supporting the things that we agree in, and also for pushing a little bit higher understanding of the matter. It's also interesting, I'd like to see if it was possible, that if a good writer was active in public affairs work, and every time something is always happening in the world, every day newspaper has news, and some things are very graphic, where people creates a lot of thought. So those things, when they happen, like why is there terrorism? Why is there this? Why is there that? Then if a person was expert and gave the Krishna conscious, it's like leader, spokesman for the Hare Krishna movement or International Krishna Conscious states, that nuclear holocaust in Russia is a forerunner of things to come. If people don't stop eating meat, they say that meat eating is the cause for these type of dangers, because unnecessary suffering is being given to animals. If some newspapers or media pick it up, it'd be interesting. And this way, millions of people at one time would be able to see our opinion on that. That would have more effect. When you're one-on-one preaching to someone, you don't want to burn the person out, that I reject Krishna consciousness. I can't immediately right now see myself stopping eating meat. But in a broader sense, we'd like people to, in the form of our books, if they read it, when they're sitting down, they can understand it, they can get it, it's more effective. But just when we meet people, we don't want to just come off right away challenging everything they do. They get all emotionally upset, and they just feel that, these people are too heavy. We have to come out and develop first a personal relationship with the people. We have to establish a rapport with them and gradually encourage them in the process how to come up. So when someone's actually talking with us, that's a different opportunity. Then we have a chance of developing this kind of personal touch. When we're distributing books, we can give these things within our books. Then a person in his own solitude, the security of his house, he can read all the reasoning and rationale. An intelligent person then can say, well, what they're saying makes sense. You're just talking to someone, it's hard to really, they don't really listen when you're saying something that they don't want to hear in many cases. And so you keep on telling them things they don't want to hear, instead they just become negative. And then they don't listen at all, they don't take any books. So we have to be careful in preaching that we don't come off completely. In our personal dealing, we should be very friendly and very open. And when a person is advanced enough, then we can get on their case, so to speak. We can get heavy with them, that they should take up this higher standard of living. Or if a person is coming on us in an offensive way, then we can turn around and start to challenge them if we feel that it's cost effective. But why they're supporting all these hideous things going on in society, to put them on the defensive. But generally, a person just walks in, they don't want to completely hit them over the head with a sledgehammer. But we should find the forums. There should be some forums. There should be, in our written work, I think we could hand out writings. There could be forums. There could be a program in different colleges where you make a vegetarian day or vegetarian week. There may already be something like that in America. If there isn't, it's something we could promote. And then during that time, we could do, we could give out free meals or give out meals that are cheap at some kind of a rate in those institutions. We could do various things to promote Krishna consciousness through these movements. But it should be done in a very professional way. It shouldn't be done in a haphazard way. It should be done in the way appropriate for the sophisticated 20th century America that we live in, so that people actually get impressed that these people are really together, they have got the proper idea, and they're not fanatic, they're very reasonable, they're very rational, it's very convincing.